had piano lessons when I was quite young, from about the age of 8. And so when I found that I could read music and play Beatles songs, and they sounded like they sounded on the record, I think that's what really got me started. I was lucky in a sense that I grew up in a house that did listen. My dad was into music, my mum was into different music. My father was English, but he also loved Indian music. My mother is Indian, but she liked Western music. So between the two of them, I got quite a good kind of experience of listening to music when I was quite young. I was growing up in London, in North London, at a time when the whole 60s revolution in culture had just happened. So we had all those bands, and the whole music scene had exploded in London. So I was just at the right age to catch that. So, by the age of 14 or 15 years old, I was playing in bands in London. Probably about 18, 19, I went to Africa. A friend of mine who I was at school with was a bass player. He was a Sudanese guy, and we went off to stay in the Sudan and actually stayed there for a year. Got into a band, got a band together there with local musicians, and we had one other English guy with us. So we stayed there and we got into a band that was very successful there, and we worked a lot there and we were playing regularly. We had a spot in a nightclub every night, and we also did lots of other functions and weddings, and we went and played in other, not just in Khartoum, which is the capital of Sudan, but we went and played in other cities small towns in Sudan. The cities are not really, in those days the cities weren't very big. Yeah, then I came back and that was it really. I was just a full-time musician from then on. I never really did any other work. I think I did work for a short time as a gardener in order to earn enough money to buy my first keyboard, but once I'd done that, I had enough equipment. I was just playing all the time. So I did, quite a lot of touring in Europe with these various bands, and then on one of those tours I joined up with a band that was from Southern Africa and ended up going back to Southern Africa with them and stayed in Lesotho for 4 years. We were getting towards the time in South Africa when apartheid was coming to an end, and the ban was lifted on us for the last year, and we went and played in our first gig, in fact, in South Africa was in Soweto in Jabulani Stadium, which is 25,000 people. That was when it really hit me that, this is a big band. I didn't realise they were, because we had a number one, our album went to number one in the charts there and was there for a long time. And then when I came back, I needed a break because I'd been actually on the road almost continuously then for 10 years. I mean, I'd kind of lost my direction a bit. I think what brought it home to me was when I arrived one day on tour in London, got onto a tour bus, driving out of London Airport, and I'm looking around saying to the guys, I know this place, I'm sure we've played here before. And then I suddenly realised, this is where I'm from. This is where I live. I mean, I came from, and I've completely lost track of who I was. I mean, my life was just this endless round of hotels and concert halls and hotels and concert halls. So I thought, I just need to stop for a while. And I decided that what I wanted to do, in fact, was study Indian music, since I'd listened to a lot of Indian music when I was a child. And the only place in England at that time that did a full-time course in Indian music was Dartington in Devon. So I got myself onto the course there and came and stayed and became a student after all those years of travelling around being a full-time musician, being a student with people who are just out of school studying to be musicians. It's a bit weird. But nevertheless, I had a great time. I mean, that was my introduction to Devon. And actually, once I was here in Devon, I couldn't really go back to London. It was just such a beautiful place. And so I stayed on in Devon and actually part of my course, as well as doing Indian music, I ended up doing a degree, but I also did jazz as part of my degree. And that's what really gave me the language and the tools. Although I'd been listening to jazz a lot all through my life, I really began to get a handle on the actual language, the musical language of jazz. And so then I really was just doing, for the next 20, 30 years, I was just doing jazz gigs in and around Devon. I mean, I did travel a lot, went up and down the country and abroad again, went to Europe a few times again. But yeah, so that's what brought me to Devon. In a way, I guess there's two kinds of struggles. There's the financial struggle, and then there's also the, what would you call it? The artistic struggle, in the sense of self-belief. You know, the struggle to think that what you're doing is, you know, acceptable, and that people will want to hear it. Certainly financially, I mean, I've always managed to just get by, but only just. You know, I've never got, I mean, I have been broke a few times, and I had to sell all my instruments occasionally just to eat. But I had some really great support once. I had there's a great musician, Aieto Moreira, he's a percussionist, and he played with Miles Davis, and he played in the first Weather Report band, and he used to have a band called Fourth World that came over to London regularly, and I used to go and see them at Ronnie Scott's. Got to know them because I'd been there so often, and one day I was sitting in the band room with them. They said, "What's the matter? You're looking really down." And I said, "Well, you know, I'm broke, and I feel like I'm not going anywhere with my music, and it's just not happening. I'm thinking I'm going to give up." And actually, they all got round me. You know, there's a scene in the film, The Mission, where this guy has been a slave trader, and then he repents, and all the local tribes people in the South American jungle get round him and put their hands on him to forgive him and heal him. This band got round me, and they all put their hands on me like that and said, "Don't give up. You know, it's like this. Being a musician is like this." And it was a great experience, really, for me. They just said, just keep going. You know, we get these ups and downs, and I did keep going.